Number 4, compassion. Right? We need to have compassion. We need to be soft-hearted. Right? We have this mentality, especially in the West, of instant gratification. Anything you want, you got it. If you want it, you can have it. Especially with the world in your pocket. You know, it's a sickness that some people have. They go to the restroom and they have their phone with them. And they're just flipping in the restroom for an hour. You're sitting on top of najasa and then you're on there for an hour. You need to get out of there, run out of there. Shaitan is happy with that. So you got the whole world in your fingertips. So instant gratification. You want to shop, Amazon got everything you want, or whatever. What is that new thing called? Timu. I have a friend. He came. We're having lunch together. He had this beautiful shirt on, and he was like $2. I was like, what? Like a corduroy shirt with like some design. He's like $2 on Timu. I thought that was a scam. Okay, so it's a trade-off. You get the $2 shirt, but you get identity theft. It's worth maybe the shirt was worth the social security number. But what I'm saying is, as a Muslim, you need to switch over. Okay, I feel like some people use the environment as an excuse to branch off into another conversation. So let's try to focus. Well, I'll try to be quicker as well. So switch from a mentality of instant gratification to compassion, empathy. This is hard stuff. To be compassionate, to think of someone else instead of yourself. When 25 years you've been thinking about yourself and suddenly you're going to automatically switch to another person thinking about someone else, it's not easy. We have to look at the seerah. We have to understand empathy, what someone is feeling, and always think about that. It's not just going to come to you. Understand what they're going through. It's a whole different universe. Every person is like a universe inside themselves. Some Sufis, they call it the microcosm. What's a macrocosm? The entire universe with all the different elements and things and solar systems and stuff like that. And then the individual has that within themselves. You are a universe in yourself. You have a mind, you have understanding. Everyone's different. So if you don't have this capability of understanding the other person, it's going to land in some trouble. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, a believer should not despise his wife. If he dislikes a trait, he'll like another. Positive thinking, compassion. She has so many positive traits. And then here's some advice that I learned from a sheikh. He said, there's something called a love bank. So how does a bank work? You deposit money, and when in need, you can take it out, right? You can withdraw. What happens if you have no money in the bank? You can't withdraw anything. It's the same thing with our spouses. If you want your spouse to be happy with you in times of difficulty, and you never deposited anything, how are you going to withdraw at that time of need? So if you're not doing things all the time, thinking about them, how they are, they don't have to ask. You get them some nice, they like fries, you buy them some fries. They like something, you buy some gifts. Whatever it is, a foot massage, whatever it is, random. You're depositing. Understand you're depositing. Then when something happens, there's like a mishap, there's some kind of argumentation, but you did so much good, it's like, wow, whatever, it's nothing in comparison. So you're withdrawing at that time. I need those funds right now. I just messed up. What happens if you don't have anything in that bank account? Even a small thing, small mishap. You burped. You're disgusting. What's wrong with you? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, "Ukfuf anna jushak." Hold your breath from us. What's wrong with you, you beast? I just burped. I just burped. But you had nothing deposited. That was your issue. Normally, it's a fart. We're humans. We'll deal with it. And that person has a lot in the love bank. You got nothing in the love bank? Oh, then you won't hear the end of it. Right? So start depositing, couples. Right? Number 5, tawassul and communication. So we call them social skills because they're skills. You're not born with these skills. We need to learn them. How do you learn these skills? You find that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has them. You read about them from the scholars, and they talk about how you can incorporate them, and you do that. It's hard work to develop this level of communication. One thing we can do is understand differences between genders. Genders think differently. They're inclined towards different things. So men have a certain way of thinking. Women have a certain way of thinking. If you think that everyone's the same, they're not. And we're not taught that either. No one's inferior from the other. They have their own benefits, and everything works together when they both come together in harmony. There's this book, I don't know if Ustada will approve, about understanding temperaments. It's called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Right? A really good book to teach you how the thinking differs. So you guys can read the book and see. Maybe you could get a better recommendation from Ustada. She's a professional, but just from my very, very limited understanding, that was a really good book. So you can understand how thinking works. Some people, they like to express a lot. So there's hyperbole in the speech. So maybe you did something and then like you hear a lot of reaction, but that just means something. You have to be attuned to what that means. And sometimes men, they go into what's called like the man cave, right? Something happened, he's just upset, he just needs to be alone. You have to leave him alone for a bit. So these things we have to understand, temperaments are different. And then there's healthy disagreements. So this is what Rasulullah had. He didn't have arguments. We don't find him arguing with his wife, but they did have some disagreements. They're limited, but we find them in the seerah. So there's various things. I'm just going to skip over it very quickly. We should have a time for communication, right? Don't just explode when something happens. If something happened, have the quality where you don't say anything at the moment and reserve it for later. Right? So something happened, you really disliked it. You have to have sabr and power at that moment. That's real strength. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says in hadith, the strong person is not the one that can wrestle and do a pile driver, right? The strong person is the one that can control themselves when they're angry. That's strength. So your spouse did something, your husband did something to you, and you're just like, I dislike it so much. You want to say something at the moment. Your wife did something, you have to let her know at the time. But the best situation, don't say anything right now. You wait for a time that you guys agreed upon, and then you calmly talk about this. This happened. I felt like this. And then there's more that we could talk about this, but inshallah, that might be a different intensive with our professional. Inshallah, she could talk about all these things. Also, dealing with criticism. Understand how to deal with criticism. As soon as, like, guys, especially, you say something, you dissed me. You dissed my life. What do you guys call it nowadays? Dissing is still here? Okay. All the other stuff went away, but dissing, you dissed my life. Or he tried your life. So you have to do something. Yeah, you tried my life. Your wife is going to try your life. Maybe several times a day. And you will try her life. You'll say something like under your breath. If she was to hear it, it would be very detrimental. Sometimes she does hear it, right? So this is not the way Rasulullah taught us to interact. Rather, you speak and you say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And then she can reciprocate and say, well, I felt like this. And then you can summarize what she said and say, okay, if I'm understanding, you're saying this. She says, okay, if I'm understanding right, this is what you're saying. Is that correct? Slowly discuss it. Try to be able to separate yourself from it. These are really hard things. I'm telling you, like, I can read them on paper and I can tell you what people have written, but I don't always practice on it either, right? We all have the moments. We try and we're learning. Life, this is the process. This is another way that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was telling us that, when you get married, it's half of your deen. There's so many traits you learn that you could not have learned if you were a monk. So this is also know when to apologize. Be able to say sorry. If you have that takabbur, it's not going to work. Number 6, sadaqa, companionship. Right, so everyone knows the honeymoon phase is just a really great time. That is going to cease. It's not going to be the same. You are going to have some arguments here and there. You are going to have some things. But if you have companionship, that stuff becomes minuscule, small. Have activities that you guys do together. Sometimes learn together. This is a great opportunity. What do you call those plugs? We have a lot of stuff in Masjid Uthman. You guys can come through, couples, inshallah. A lot of programs. Different things all over Atlanta. Alhamdulillah, Islam is growing a lot. Programs everywhere. You can read together, read a book together. You can learn how to cook. Guys can learn how to cook. Or if you're a chef, you can teach your wife a little bit. You can go on hikes, whatever. Halal stuff, right? I'm not saying go to the movies and stuff like that. But halal things. Date nights, all this. You need to schedule these in. They shouldn't be random. It should be a concerted effort to spend time and develop that friendship. Your spouse is supposed to be your best friend. That was actually the best advice I got from a friend of mine. I was asking various friends before I got married, you know, what do you suggest? Got two advices that I would say are the best. One is make your spouse, make your wife your best friend, and everything will fall into place. It's absolutely true. And the second one was, I don't have any advice for you. Every person is different. You learn and you become accustomed to that person. That was his advice. And it's also true. Everyone is different. Many different aspects about this, but in general, spend time together. Schedule that in. Here's a hadith. Anything which is not the remembrance of Allah is a waste of time. You don't, anything that's not dhikr of Allah, you're not remembering Allah, you're wasting your time. It's a mistake and you're just playing around. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, everything other than dhikr, waste of time, except for four things. So you got the dhikr of Allah, is how you should be spending your time, and then four other things other than the remembrance of Allah is not a waste of time. A husband enjoying time with his wife, not a waste of time. So you don't even have to be thinking about Allah. It's not a waste of time. Whatever amount you're investing in the love bank. A man training his horse, that's good. You're training maybe now like a pit bull or something like that, or whatever. Walking in between arrow posts, meaning you shot an arrow, you're going to the post, you're taking the arrow out, going to another one. Today's time, the gun range, not a waste of time. Start shooting, men and women. Get the, you know, semi-automatics, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. If people have them and they're gonna come attack you, then, and the Sahaba had swords and arrows and bows and all of that. And learning how to swim. So notice everything other than, all of these are investments. Learning how to, in another hadith, how to ride a horse. So this is driving, that's an investment. Shooting, investment. Learning how to swim, it's an investment. Training the body, it's investment. Spending time with your spouse, a huge investment. So don't think of it as, oh, this is a waste of time. Every moment you spend, even if you're just sitting around, it's an investment. And you can consider an ibadah. Finally, last one. Tarkul jidal, giving up argumentation. What does that mean? That means for the sake of your marriage, for the sake of Allah, you may be right. You develop this capability of saying that, you know, I'm going to let this one slide. I'm not going to say anything. It doesn't count as letting it slide if you remind them later. You know that argument, you know how I let you slide? Do that to me. Leave it. Let me get off the hook. That's not letting slide. That means you don't even mention, for the sake of Allah, means you did it for Allah, you don't mention it at all. Here's a very beautiful hadith. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, I guarantee a house in the outskirts of Jannah for the one who gives up argumentation, even if they're right. So you're right. You have the proofs, rational proofs, you have textual proofs, you have all this, you have documentation to show I'm right, you're wrong. You have everything. You got witnesses, you got recordings. You say, you know what? I'm not going to talk about this. You're right. You know, let's leave this. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, I'm going to guarantee for that person, you got a house on the outskirts of Jannah. And a house in the center of Jannah for the one who gives up lying even when joking. This person doesn't lie at all. Even when joking, not like, the unfortunate thing is we just watch so much comedy that we develop this mindset. We just lie all the time when joking. It's still a lie. So he says, you'll get a house in the center of Jannah, prime real estate, if you never lie at all, ever. Right? And the way you get on the upper echelons of Jannah is a'mal, good deeds. And he says, a house in the upper echelons of Jannah for the one who beautifies their character. If you can do that, you're in Firdaus. And if you don't lie, you're in the center of Jannah. And if you give up argumentation, every time you give up that argumentation for the sake of Allah, think in your mind, I'm getting a house right now. You don't have to have one house in Jannah. You can have billions. I just got another house. Give up this argument. Another argument, I just got another house. I got another house. And you're smiling. You're arguing just like, yeah. I got a jacuzzi there, and I got a walk-in closet, and I got pearls, and I got a dome there. Not saying, you know, don't listen to the argument. You should listen and understand what's happening, but I mean, that could be on the side, thinking about that. Another hadith, also very beautiful. These are very difficult, and that's why getting Jannah is not easy. This stuff is, I'm not saying this is easy, it's super hard. Shall I not inform you of the woman of Jannah? This woman is in Jannah. We said, certainly, Sahaba. He said, she is loving and she is a mother. When she is upset or has been wronged, or her husband is upset. So someone did something wrong to her, but her character is so soft and sweet. She says, I'm placing my hand in yours. I shall not sleep until you are pleased. So she was wronged by her husband, and then she's saying that, I'm not even going to sleep until you're happy. This type of mentality, it only comes with iman. So these are the 7 character traits, inshallah. If we can implement them, we'll have a very beautiful nikah, inshallah.